everyone. How are you, my dear panelists?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so before we start, and to our virtual audience, a very, very good morning to you. Trust that you have enjoyed yourself very much after listening to MP Patrick Tay. And now we're on to the first panel of our virtual conference. And let me just swing straight into introducing to you my awesome panelists, starting with Miss Annie Yap. She is the chairman of AYP Group. Yes, Mr. Lim Su Meng, CEO and co-founder of EVantage. Miss Violet Lim, some of you may know her. She's the queen of love, CEO and co-founder of Lunch, actually. Rings a bell, right? And last but certainly not least, Anurag. He is our CEO and co-founder of Quilt.AI. Now, for all you tech buffs out there, you want to be paying attention to what these two gentlemen has to say. Not that the ladies are far behind in terms of their technology advancement as well. So without further ado, can I please pass the floor to my awesome panelists and for you all to do a short introduction.
Okay, thank you, Jermaine. My name is Annie. I'm very happy, today to share, my experience with all of you. And I run a HR tech and services company called AYP Group. We are headquartered in Singapore. Predominantly we focus in Southeast Asia. So we are also present in 6 other countries across Southeast Asia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annie, and maybe across to Violet.
Hi guys, I'm very happy to be here. Thanks Jermaine for the warm welcome. So my name, as you know, is Violet, and like what Jermaine has mentioned just now, I'm in the love and matchmaking industry. So sometimes I'm also known as Chief Cupid in my company. So Lunch, actually, we are a 17-year-old company. We started here in Singapore and we have expanded to Malaysia, Hong Kong, Indonesia and Thailand.
Okay, I think some of our virtual audience are waking up. They're like, yes, this is one lady we need to know. And across to you, Su Meng, would you like to introduce?
Yes, I'm Su Meng. I'm the CEO and co-founder of EVantage Technology. We are a professional IT solutions company, and we provide IT infrastructure and managed services in cloud solutions, IT project management, IT security, telephony, IT support. And this is across Singapore and all of Asia.
Oh, nice. And Anurag, of course, please tell us a little bit more about Quilt.AI and yourself.
Cool, thanks. It's hard to go after these 3 very cool co-panelists, but I'm going to try. So my name's Anurag. I run a company called Quilt.AI. We're 3 years old. We're Singapore headquartered, but we have employees in several locations, including Zurich, New York, London, India, and we're now hiring in Argentina, where we found some very amazing engineers.
Wow, nice. Okay, so we swing into the topic of today, and I don't know if I'm putting you guys on the hot seat. I'd like you to...
No, not all, not all.
We can, of course, we all had a very challenging year, much to everybody's dislike. I never like to call last year a washed out year or a disastrous year. I think to quite a lot of us, it was also a very opportune year, and going into this year, let's see opportunity instead of hurdles and disasters. That's why today I'd like you guys to share how you overcame, last year, and stepping into this year, what's changed for you. I mean, all of you are owners of your own businesses. So from your mouth, I think it's the best. So can we swing into what we call virtual teams, stagger work hours, a work from home, essentially in a big bubble that's called work in the new normal. And Anurag, we just heard from you. You've got staff all over. Without the pandemic, they are already working in virtual teams, and the others as well. You've got your sister companies dotted all around Southeast Asia. So can I say, how has these terminologies like your super team, your virtual teams, your work from home, how has that changed work, in the new normal? So maybe let me go one round and just get your thoughts on it. So maybe we start with Violet this time.
Definitely, I think last year has been very interesting because for us, we are very much face-to-face, one-to-one, brick and mortar business. We meet our clients face-to-face, and of course, our clients go on dates face-to-face as well. So when, like the whole pandemic hit, and then one by one, our countries were going into lockdown, I mean, we were like starting to panic, obviously, because it's like, okay, what was going to happen? However, of course, like Singapore being our HQ, it was kind of like the last bastion, we are like, okay, Singapore won't go into lockdown. And then before we know it, suddenly it was announced. I still remember it was a Friday. And then they announced, okay, Singapore is going to go on lockdown on 7th of April. Wow. And I really remember that date because that's also the date that I came out of my own COVID lockdown also because, I had COVID. So anyways, I was moving from like kind of one confinement to another. But anyway, I think it was definitely a lot to, digest and think about. But thankfully, I would say that my team has been amazing. So even prior to like Singapore going into circuit breaker, we already have tested out AB teams. So just getting into the worst case scenario, so called, what's going to happen. And then we also have managed to move our communication very much to like all online. So we actually use a platform called Slack. So it's really very easy to organize, all of our work on this platform itself.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's fast. Actually, hold your horses there. Let me jump to Anurag. Anurag, yours is all around the world. The people are dotted around. You already know the concept of virtual teams. So to you, has it been an issue? Or it was not an issue? You just kind of like, hey, business as usual.
In some ways it was business as usual because you were already on tools like Violet said, such as Slack, and like here we are on Zoom, etc. So there was no change in that. I think for my colleagues in Singapore, it was a bit hard for all of us because we were used to seeing each other, get coffee, go for lunch, and that was tough. I think in terms of some of our younger colleagues around the world, even though they have an office in those locations, for them to work out of their bedrooms or their rooms they're sharing with their siblings, some young graduates, right?
I see.
That was challenging. For middle-aged old people like me, who may have an extra room, it was a lot easier. But I think the idea of being virtual is fantastic, and to have flexibility in the work space is kind of key.
Nice. So, to my virtual audience out there, this is one cool company to join. Please take note, okay? And let me now swing to Annie. Can I then ask you, when everything was in lockdown, I remember yourself and Jacob, the other co-founder, was traveling like there was no tomorrow. All of a sudden, there was no travel, and your job needs a lot of interaction as well. Your kind of business needs a lot of interaction as well because there's a lot of client meetings, right? And so how has that impacted you, all this absolute global lockdown, and then all of a sudden you guys are all really literally virtual team, has that done anything to trust, to work, what's happening there?
Okay, so I think it's really the shock to global. Everyone was so shocked 1 year ago, that nobody would think that, we could work 100% at home, and nobody could think that, the whole world will come to a standstill, right? So I remember like what Violet said, our PM announced, then Friday, announced, and then Saturday,
Yeah,
I imagine, yeah, my team came back to take their laptop, and go home. Some carry their chairs, and all this, monitor, bring home. Yeah, so I think, then after that, countries after countries, everyone was on lockdown. Yeah, so, but I would say that my team actually, they adapted quite fast, So I think the first thing that came to my mind, I have this still voice that tells me, do you play to win or do you play not to lose? Yeah, because at that moment, right, I tell myself, if let's say I'm just as frightened or as panicked as many others, my whole team will be so frightening. So I must be like that swan, very chill on top of the water, paddling downstairs, never mind. So I came up with a strategy to play to win, which surround along like offense, defense, and coaching. So when we gear our team, everybody to think like that, nobody got time to go and think about what the pandemic, these, that. They just have to go on the toe. If they're on the attack, they must be on that role. If they're defense, they go on that role. Yeah, then the other thing I remember what I did was that I think the 1 year, right, I'm really concerned about the mental health of my people.
Yeah.
So I went on a coffee talk one-on-one, with everyone, making sure that they are in like, a workable condition. Because in Singapore, right, we cannot take for granted, like, our colleagues in Indonesia, they are in a very small space. In Philippines, also very small space, a few people, together. So we need to address that. So we actually look into the mental, health, the working condition of our people. Yeah, so I think these are the two main things that, struck me if I look back 1 year ago.
Yeah. Wow, thank you, Annie. And coming to Meng, the reason why I want to address Super Team with you is because I know your company and also the other sister companies that you have, really you guys are working with people all around the world, because of the technology that you are working with. So you want to tell us a little bit about Super Team, because I think everybody knows the buzzword. Nobody quite know what Super Team really means. And then I think you guys embody it quite well.
I never ever called it or addressed it as Super Team. It just came about, I guess, the advantage of being a tech company.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's got different terminology what Super Team is. I think what we did at EVantage is that we've invested in systems and tools for work across the company. And this was done even before, it's pre-COVID. we just do it, right? So tools to track our revenues and accounts, tools to track our engineering tickets and how we handle the tickets, deployments of engineering and staff, tools for sales tracking and follow-ups. These are not new. I think everyone knows and everyone's gone, and this is where I think the cloud has been a buzzword for many years already, and I think I'm sure many have embraced it. But I think for us, we embrace it even more because of tools, and we learn how to use that.
That's great. Okay, so now can I jump back to Cupid? Yes, I really need you to talk about, what happens in terms of the trust thing, because you recall a conversation that I did with you, Violet, and you shared this thing about, trust. Okay, so I am coming onto a bit of a sensitive question. Sorry if I put you guys a little bit on the hot seat. When work from home started, I have a lot of friends who are business owners and all that. They are like, oh my goodness, okay, everybody is working from home. How would I know that my employees are not playing golf? You can't check, and I'm like, whoa, such trust, and I kind of like realized that, it's not really about the trust, but it's about the personality of the person who owns the company. Some of us are just natural super control freaks. We need to see them in order to know what is happening, and on the flip side, some employees needs to be seen to work. Am I right? There are different types of personality. So, Violet, I want you to share your little story, your little success story that really embodies, this thing about trust. Now, I want to know, how did all of you overcome that? And how did you make it such that, your working environment is still built out of trust, even though everybody is out of sight? Yeah. So, Violet, you know what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Jermaine. I hope I tell the same story that you're hoping that I'll tell.
I'm sure you do.
Okay, so I think, our fellow co-founders here, Annie, Meng, and Anurag, the way we run our business, I think it's also very much based on data, based on numbers. So, I mean, of course, we are not like a cold company where we don't care about people and things like that. For sure, no. We definitely go on the ground, we spend a lot of time with our associates. But I think, one of the things when we are hiring people, or like when we are orientating them and, training them, they know very clearly, what their KPIs are, what they are supposed to deliver. So in that sense, sense, actually, I'm quite comfortable when we needed to work from home, because I think my associates, they know that I'm the kind of boss, like, I'm kind of like, I really don't care what you do. You can be out playing golf every day. You can be like lying at the beach all the time. As long as you deliver your numbers, I really don't care. So I think in that sense, right, working from home is great, because I think for myself, like, as entrepreneurs, we have that flexibility, because I mean, obviously we maybe, we do work harder or longer, or like maybe more passionately, I don't know, but we have that flexibility. And I think this whole thing about working from home, it actually ends up giving, some of that flexibility to our associates that maybe in the past they never have. So, they could just, like maybe wake up a bit later because, they have a long night looking after their baby the night before, like they might put in a bit more hours, like during, the baby is napping and things like that. So I think that is the great part of it. So the other thing about how I look at it is that one thing I realized during COVID, because it's like there's just so many things happening, I have to like deal with so many different things that's popping up, right? So I just realized that I really cannot be everywhere. I cannot be like, looking into every single thing everybody is doing. So I decided that during that whole firefighting and this the whole, dealing with COVID situation, I'll just focus on things that only I can do.
Yeah.
So, I really like segregate out a list of like, what are the things that only I, as the CEO or as the co-founder or as the chief cupid, only I can do. And I just kind of leave like everything else that someone else can do to someone else to do. And it was quite interesting. I'm like, wow, the company still ran. And maybe it ran even better.
Oh, that is so good to hear. I'm sure that to our virtual audience, they're like, yeah, let me talk to Violet. We want to join a team like that. Yes. So across to Annie, right? This thing about trust has to be even further extended. You've got 6 or 7 countries to manage, and they all got different culture. Yeah, and some of them are thanking God that they are staying at home, because I know that your Philippine people travels 2 hours in and 2 hours back. This is no joke. This is pre-COVID, because I've been to all your other country companies before. So how has trust been impacted with COVID?
Yeah. Okay, so I think we need to constantly, right, disassociate time spent equals to productivity. Yeah, we need to associate deliverables with productivity, because I think it's the old way is really like to look at like how much time you spend. You want to look at whether the person is working or not. I think this is really the gone were the days lah. Yeah, so we need to continue to like work on like how we can actually I just share with my people, managing forward looking, because it's like a lot of people scared like it's being micromanaged. They don't like to work for people who are micromanagers. But how to differentiate between micromanagers and good managers? So managers who look forward are good management, good managers. Managing looking backwards is micromanagement. So yeah.
Something new.
So the rule is to always set clear goals and always forward looking. So when we drive, right, why is it that the front screen is always bigger than the rear screen? Because the rear screen is gone already. Whatever is gone is gone. So what is important ahead of you is more important. So when I realized that working from home, right, actually 2 things are being compromised. The first thing is the culture. I'm not really concerned about the productivity. I'm more concerned about the culture than the productivity, actually.
Right.
Yeah, so it's so difficult to build a culture when people don't meet, because culture is only culture is only built when you meet, you interact with people, right? So culture is one thing. And if you have the bad apples in the team, right? In fact, let's say, for example, out of 5 people, if there's one bad one, and if this bad one is gone, in fact, a lot of times this 4-person can do more things than the 5 people beforehand. Yeah, put together, because they don't feel like they don't like this colleague or whatever, that kind of thing. They don't feel negative. So productivity increase. The other thing is actually innovation. Yeah, so working from home, innovation is also something that I'm really concerned of. Yeah, so we do this to inculcate innovation, which is like leaders eat last, right? So in this Simon Sinek book, so we don't, so it means like you don't talk first, because a lot of time in a meeting, if you talk, right, chances are people don't talk already. They don't share their views.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't know whether they talk is aligned with you or not. So we have to try to hold ourselves. I know leaders all like to contribute and talk. They don't like to like wait. Yeah. So be patient.
Oh, this is really, really true. You know, I like it when Annie brought this up about, you know, certain things that will be compromised when you don't actually meet face to face, and that's culture and creativity, the two C's. So I just want to throw that to the two gentlemen. Now, do you agree? Because clearly you will see things from a very different perspective. So I just want to hear from maybe Su Meng first, you know, in terms of culture and creativity. Now, do you think that that is necessarily brought about when the team can come together face to face? Or do you think that, you know, it can easily be achieved like us?
Well, you know, nothing. I don't think it's easily achieved. Nothing's done overnight. I think, especially culture, you need to build it. It's always a challenge. I mean, it's not you can't take it for granted. You have to work hard at it, you know, every time. So even more conscious of it during this COVID time. I mean, regards to culture, we've always managed by objectives. I think that's what Annie kind of sounds to what Annie kind of described. And within EVantage, there's an innate culture of trust in our staff and vice versa. So the staff also trust the management. So each one of us know our work activities, and that works whether we're in the office or remote.
Oh my goodness. Su Meng, can you imagine when the doors are flung open, your staff turn up?
Yeah, who are you?
Did I hire you? Are you kidding me? It's like the job. This is interview by Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm glad with this technology that they at least see our faces, right?
You know, Anurag, now I come to you. You know, what do you think? You know, do you think the get together is still so necessary? You know, because the next question to all of you is, this is the new normal. We are not ever going back to the old normal. Yeah. So is this a doable new normal, or has things still got to change? So what about you, Anurag? What's your take on this? Yeah.
I'm going to start with correcting both Violet and you on the golf element.
Oh, sorry.
For golfers, you would know that in the last many months, it has been impossible to get a tee time on a golf course. So,
okay.
nobody's playing. I mean, I don't know who's playing golf, but clearly not entrepreneurs and their colleagues.
Yeah.
But I think on the culture front, to echo all my co-panelists' viewpoints, it is what you do, not what you say. Like Su Meng was mentioning, we also have hired some people during the pandemic. I mean, we were 35 people in February 2020.
Wow.
And now we're 160 people. So I was hiring 2 people a day for a long time. And I think the culture, yeah, exactly, right? So, and then I met some of them in person now, and they're like, wow, Anurag, you're actually quite short. And they make fun of me because they can't tell.
It's so bad.
Yeah, but it's young people. But on culture, to echo, I think what Annie was also saying, it's really important to meet for a bit, for sure. In the absence of that, what we have tried to do, but it isn't amazing, we've tried to do a lot of documentation. I think creativity, it's a lot better place today than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So tools and techniques do help. But there's a bunch of cool innovation that happens when you get people together. I mean, we're human beings. We're a tribe at the end of the day, right? We have to be physical in that respect for magic to happen. So yeah, back to you.
Yeah, right. Like fingers crossed, Anurag. I will stay with you, and I want to come to, kind of sort of like our last question. Can I ask you a little bit about hiring your talent? Clearly, who you used to hire is not going to be who you are going to be hiring going forward, simply because the pandemic has changed the whole mindset of talent acquisition. So since we have a few thousand listening in right now, we need them to know what has changed. to all the employers that are hiring, what then do you call a talent in the new normal that you'll be hiring? So I start with you, Anurag. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm gonna use what Annie said a few minutes ago and start with that. And what she said was, you can choose to play not to lose, and you can choose to play to win. And I think talent also, along with entrepreneurs, is doing more and more of that. And I think there's an interesting curve that's happening. For a while, I think we'd gone into hyper specialization. So, the AI guy, this deep tech guy, this person, this lady who does just this. And so there was this curve for the last 10 to 15 years where technologists benefited disproportionately because they knew how to code and build something. And that's still true to a large extent. But for talent, I think, I along with, I think many others, read this book called Range by David Epstein early last year. And what Range talks about is the value of doing multiple things to use your brain in a more general way. So for Violet, Suming, and Annie, for us, what's really important is colleagues who can do multiple things at an incredible level of proficiency. That's one thing that I think all of us would love to have. The second is, I believe that will is much more important. And the third is curiosity. I think the shocking thing for all talent will be that, you come out of college and you're 21, 22, 24, and you have one degree, you may get a master's, etc., but you still have 50 to 60 years of work life left in you. So if you're not reinventing and re-educating and investing in that. So for talent, that would be my sort of thought is like do many things, learn a lot, and be nimble.
Absolutely right. So Violet, coming to you, have your thoughts changed about the kind of talent that you need to be hiring going forward?
I think like actually not so much for me, because I think from early on, like I feel that the people that would work very well for us, definitely it's not so much about whether they have a degree or not, because I think that's something that I get asked all the time, like are all the people who work with you, are they all like psychology degree holders and things like that?
Wow.
I mean, of course. Of course, that would be nice. But at the same time, I have realized that might not be the most important thing. So I think what I'm just trying to say, it's like a lot of the things that we do, it can be trained. And in fact, we have a very comprehensive training program. But what we are looking for is really, people who have a heart and passion for what we do. Because for us, it's like, if you don't like talking to people, like if talking to people piss you off, like you really definitely cannot join us.
Yeah. So across to Annie, do you still run your business like a startup as well? You've been around, for quite a while. Of course, you still look 25,
Thank
right?
you, Jermaine.
Yeah.
Okay. For us, I mean, we don't run the business like a startup anymore. Yeah. But we put in quite a few structures in place lah. So I mean, I used to run recruitment business. I think Jermaine knows, right? So we pivoted into a tech-enabled payroll service company. So when we come to hiring, right, to us, number one, most important is really the culture fit. So that is like, we take it very, very seriously. We don't hire the wrong person, because when you hire the wrong person, then, the damage is going to be even more,
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. The second thing is to really hire your ideal team player.
Coming to Suming, I know you guys have always been very creative in your hiring. I know for a fact, okay, because I always am talking to yourself and your other co-founders. It's no joke. You want to share with us? Yeah.
Well, we're not into AI. We're not hiring at a DBS rate of hires. Yeah, so I still meet, and if it's remote, I mean, obviously, the person needs to be very good at this Zoom and Microsoft Teams and things like that. So they will present and talk. The communication is very important. Then again, we do a lot of more, as Anurag were more tech. Yeah. So I have an engineer. So we need to understand not all engineers need to know how to. Well, they need to communicate. Okay, but that is not their strength per se.
No.
All right. So we do give tests, Annie, but not in a 9-hour kind of thing. But it's more like, hey, you tell them about their networks. You have your CCNA or your Cisco certified. Ask a few questions about Forest and stuff like that. But the key thing for me is you have the aptitude, and aptitude basically your qualifications gives you that. Right. I mean, you can't get that from, oh yeah, maybe the test for the technical parts, but also the attitude. You need to have a good attitude, and these are the things we look out for. And these are the two key things that we look out for.
Okay, so we are sadly running out of time, but before we go, I want to go just one last round for all of you, to give our virtual audience a thought of your own. But before I get there, to the virtual audience, I hope you guys have been listening in, because along the way, you would have seen something popped up. And if you're the first 10 that have answered it correctly, a surprise is coming your way. So, yeah, it's good to pay attention, isn't it? Now, if you want to connect with any of our panelists, right, if you look at my screen, there's a QR code. Please scan it, and write to us, and we will connect you. So let me have Annie kick off. One final thought from you, Annie?
Okay, there's this quote for me. So the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So take action and learn.
Nice to hear. And then maybe Violet?
I think for me, it's really, like no point like griping about what has happened and what is not going to happen, because I think if we read the news nowadays or all these forums, that's what we see, when before that have to work from home, then they complain about, I have to work from home. And then now, like have to go back to work, then they say, I have to go back to work.
Okay.
So I think one of our company core values is make it happen. So I always say, just forget it. You can't control what you can't control. Just focus on what you can control and just make it happen.
Agree, right? Agree.
Yeah.
I jump across to Su-Mei.
Well, I think it's just to stay positive. There's always challenges ahead. And we're not going to be successful in everything. So if we do fail, we fail forward, and like I said, I think as Annie and Violet already said, I'm sure Anurag agrees, just move forward, and stay positive.
Yeah, indeed. And Anurag?
I can't add anything. All the amazing 3 lines have been taken. So.
I'm very sure you can, Okay, so but on that note, thank you very much. And again, to all our listeners, so whether you are looking for, your next step in your career, or you're thinking about a switch, these are 4 companies that are still hiring. So I honestly don't think you have an excuse to say that there's no jobs out there. You haven't been looking hard enough, So on that note, if you want to connect with these 4 awesome people, I say it one more time, there is the QR code there. So please scan and write into us, and we will definitely look to connecting you. So thank you very much. It's been an awesome time talking to you guys, and for you to share some wonderful thoughts, and many, many good learning points for everybody who's listening in. So I bid you farewell now, and I hope we'll meet again very, very soon. So thank you very much all.
All right, thank you all. Great meeting, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.